My wife, who had always disliked children, suddenly became fond of the neighbor's baby, staying out until the early hours every day to take care of her. She not only neglected me, but even ignored my surgery after a car accident. I couldn't take it anymore. At the party celebrating my discharge from the hospital, I asked for a divorce. Friends and family all said the car crash had messed with my head. My wife, Victoria Turner, furiously threw her drink in my face and berated me with uncontrollable anger. "Is this all because I didn't look after you in the hospital? Are you really this jealous of a 6-month-old baby?" I slowly wiped the stain from my clothes, glanced at the suggestive red mark on her neck, and said in a cold tone, "Since you love his child so much, once we're divorced, I'll let you be with them forever." Chapter 1. Victoria's expression was a complex mix of emotions. She pulled her collar up, trying to hide her neck. Her eyes were red with anger as she roared at me. "Sincere? What do you mean by that? I was looking after Nancy to learn about childcare, so I could take care of our own children in the future. And now you want to divorce me for such a flimsy reason? Have you gone mad?" I ignored her shouting, my face devoid of any emotion. Calmly, I took the prepared divorce papers from my bag and handed them to her. "Sign it. I'll see you at the courthouse tomorrow morning." The surrounding friends and family were all stunned, their burning gazes fixed on me. But I no longer cared. I left the papers and prepared to leave. They couldn't believe that we, the couple everyone envied, would suddenly be getting a divorce. Victoria's eyes were filled with astonishment. She hadn't expected me to have the divorce papers ready. Seeing my resolute attitude, my mother, Mary Smith, finally realized I wasn't joking. She was the first to pick up the papers from the table. After a quick glance, her face darkened. "Son, are you really getting a divorce? You and Vicky have been married for 10 years and have always had a good relationship. What on earth happened?" They pleaded with me to reconsider, and even Victoria's best friend, Chloe, tried to persuade me. "That's right, Sincere. You and Vicky have been together for 10 years. Don't let this thing with the neighbor's baby ruin it all. She only helped out because the neighbor is a single father, and she felt sorry for the child. Do you have to be so petty? She didn't want children back then because she was afraid of holding back your career. Why can't you see her good intentions?" The others around us also began to accuse me of being heartless. I remained silent, simply pushing the divorce papers in front of Victoria again. "This divorce is happening. I can't tolerate this any longer." My father, Robert Smith, who had rushed over after hearing the news, slapped me hard across the face. A fiery sting instantly spread across my cheek. I clutched my swelling face as I heard his furious roar. "You unfilial son, how dare you divorce a wonderful woman like Vicky? I'll beat you to death. Vicky has managed this household all these years so you could build your career. Have you no shame wanting a divorce now?" My mom immediately stepped in to break it up, holding my hand and pleading, "Son, if there's a problem, talk it out. Don't just throw the word divorce around. You'll never find a daughter-in-law this good again. If you're doing this because you found someone new, your mother will not forgive you." I slowly lifted my head, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth, surrounded by the buzz of discussion. Victoria immediately rushed to my side with a look of concern, tending to my wound. She was always so considerate. In front of others, she was the perfect wife, but only I knew the bitterness between us. "Honey, I know you might have fallen for someone else, but I'm the only one who truly cares about you. We were childhood sweethearts and we've been married for 10 years. How could we divorce over something so small? I don't care about your flings on the side. As long as you're willing to come home, I won't mind." With just a few words, Victoria had turned the tables, suggesting I was the one who had found someone new. The room erupted again. Everyone's glares felt like daggers. My own father punched me again. "So that's why you want a divorce. You've got someone on the side. How did I raise a bastard like you, son? Stop this nonsense. You're going to put your father in the hospital. Go home and make things right with Vicky." All our friends and family urged me to reconcile, and Victoria, in tears, lowered herself to beg me. My eyes were ice cold as I pushed her away forcefully. Let go. I don't love you anymore. She didn't know that ever since she started taking care of the neighbor's baby, our marriage had been dead in all but name. Victoria looked at me in disbelief, her lips trembling. What did you say? Chapter 2. The entire room fell silent in an instant. She cried even harder, but I turned to leave. Victoria used all her strength to hug me from behind. Don't go, honey. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Give me one more chance. I promise I'll change. Please don't leave me. Chloe, her best friend, blocked my path. Sincere, what's gotten into you? Apologize to Vicky right now. Vicky has been with you for so many years. How can you bear to hurt her? Have you forgotten how much you used to love each other? You were together from middle school through college, a full 8 years before you got married. Have you forgotten all that? You bastard, are you telling me you don't even want the child in Vicky's womb? At this, my parents grabbed hold of me, desperately trying to talk some sense into me. Vicky is carrying your own flesh and blood, and you still want a divorce? Have you lost your conscience? I tore myself free with all my might, seemingly unfazed by the news, and told them to get lost. I don't care whose child she's carrying. This divorce is final. My mom couldn't believe I could say something so cruel. Son, haven't you always wanted a child? Now that Vicky is pregnant, why are you still making a scene? Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. There was a time I desperately wanted a child of my own, from my 20s into my 30s. 10 years had passed, and I had hoped countless times for a child with Victoria, but each time my hopes were dashed. I didn't want to live like this anymore. All I wanted now was to be completely free of her. The loud argument attracted the single father from next door, Ethan Jones. He came over, holding his baby, intending to give her to Victoria. This was the time every day when Ethan left for work, and Victoria would take over babysitting duties. The moment she saw him, she forgot about our argument and immediately took the baby from his arms. The tenderness in her eyes was something I had never seen before, as if she were looking at her own biological child. A sharp pain, as if my heart had been pierced, shot through me, and I nearly lost my footing. Victoria and I had conceived before, but both pregnancies ended in miscarriages. Mr. Smith, Ethan said, I heard the argument just now. I didn't realize you would mind Vicky helping me with the baby. I'll start looking for a new place today and move out with Nancy right away. I don't want to affect your relationship. Victoria frowned, a look of reluctance in her eyes. Don't be silly. It's just helping with a child. It's nothing. Sincere, don't take your issues with me out on others. You're just recovering from a serious illness. Can you please stop making a scene? She kept crying pitifully, and everyone redirected their anger toward me. My dad's face was flushed with anger. He grabbed my hand, his voice hoarse. Listen to your father. Stop this nonsense. Break it off with that person on the side, and live a good life with Vicky. That's more important than anything now that she's carrying your child. If you dare to divorce her, don't blame me for breaking your legs. I remained as cold as ever, my face a blank mask. The divorce is happening with that. I turned and left. My dad roared at my retreating back. If you dare to divorce her, I'll disown you. Victoria no longer tried to stop me. Sincere, if you're going to walk out, don't think you're taking a single penny with you. I'll make sure you leave with nothing since you've found someone new, and are determined to abandon me. Don't blame me for playing dirty. I immediately filed for divorce, submitting the footage I had captured of the two of them in Ethan Jones's house as evidence. Chapter 3. That night, I planned to stay in a hotel, only to find all my bank cards had been frozen. It was then I remembered that for years I had given all my money to Victoria, keeping very little for myself. All these years I had worked day and night to build a home for us. I thought that after our long courtship we could finally have a happy family of our own. I never imagined it was all a joke. I had been alone from the very beginning. After borrowing money from a friend to check into a hotel, I opened my phone and saw a video of the daytime argument. Someone had secretly recorded it and posted it online, and it was now a trending topic. The comment section was filled with abuse directed at me. Some people even threatened to dox me and ruin my reputation. He's divorcing his wife just because she looked after the neighbor's kid? Is he even human? I bet he's the one who cheated and is using this ridiculous excuse to get a divorce. So shameless, I heard his wife is already pregnant. He's abandoning his pregnant wife. He probably has a bunch of illegitimate kids already. The story spread like wildfire. Even the hotel room service attendant gave me a look of contempt. I opened my laptop and a sharp, piercing pain shot through my body. The hundreds of video clips showing the two of them intimately left me breathless. Every night, after she put Ethan's daughter Nancy to sleep, she would slip into his bedroom. I had accidentally connected to his home's security camera feed while helping him fix a pipe. From then on, I could watch them together every night. The way Victoria looked at Ethan was with a special tenderness, a look I had never seen in all our years together. Although she acted like a virtuous and considerate wife in public, only I knew how cold she truly was. After we got married, she told me in no uncertain terms that she didn't want children and forbade me from getting any funny ideas. Unfortunately, she later got pregnant by accident. I begged her to keep it, but she had an abortion without hesitation. That became the great pain of my life. From that day on, she never let me touch her again. But now, right under my nose, she was pregnant with another man's child. I stared at the prenatal checkup report. I had clearly been away on a business trip during that time. Mr. Smith, the court hearing is set for 3 days from now. I prepared all the documents you requested. The next morning, I received a call from my assistant. The company was losing investors due to the pressure from public opinion. Victoria arrived at the office before I did. "Honey, don't go in yet. It's swarming with reporters." But I shoved her aside. Victoria fell to the ground in a heap. The commotion instantly drew everyone's attention. She clearly hadn't expected me to push her. "Sincere, do you have to be so cruel? I'm carrying your child. Can't you show me a little compassion?" Ethan had followed her and helped her up from the floor. The argument immediately attracted the reporters and angry netizens, who aimed their cameras at me, cursing me for being cold-blooded and heartless. "Don't blame my husband," Victoria sobbed to the crowd. "It was my fault for losing my balance. Please don't blame him." Looking at her hypocritical facade, I almost threw up from disgust. "If you don't want a divorce amicably, then don't blame me for suing." Victoria dropped the act. In front of the media, she declared, "Fine. If you won't take the easy way out, then don't blame me for making sure you leave with nothing." Chapter 4. "My child doesn't need a father like you. A divorce it is. See you in court." I found it laughable. She had no idea that I had been aware of everything all along. I said nothing, arranged matters at the company, and then threw myself into preparing for the court case. After today's media frenzy, our story blew up even more online. I became a heartless scumbag everyone loved to hate, while Victoria successfully cultivated the image of a fragile victim. Some said I abandoned my pregnant wife for a new lover, even forcing her to have multiple abortions. That I drained our family's assets to support my new flame. That I was disgusted by my wife's pregnant appearance, and so on. Others claimed the car accident had left me brain damaged and mentally unstable. The online slander and abuse were relentless. Even my parents wanted to disown me. "You've gone too far. From this day on, I'll pretend I never had a bastard son like you. Look at the filthy things you've done. I'm too ashamed to call you my son anymore." I chose to remain silent through it all, only reappearing at the courthouse 3 days later. On the day of the hearing, friends and family were all there, along with a number of online followers. These people were all waiting to see me make a fool of myself, waiting to see me face the judgment of the law. Victoria grabbed my arm in the gallery and whispered, "Are you sure you want to take it this far? For the sake of our years together, I'll give you one last chance. If you apologize to me, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. You have no chance of winning. The whole country knows what you've done to me. How can you even show your face?" Ethan gave me a mocking smile. Even my own parents seemed to wish I'd go to jail, finding me a total disgrace. But I was unmoved, waiting for the judge to begin the session. Victoria had hired the most famous lawyer in the city. She was determined to win this case. Her lawyer listed my numerous sins during the marriage, trying to argue that I deserved to leave with nothing. Simply helping a neighbor with childcare at night is not sufficient grounds to constitute fault on the wife's part. Based on the current situation, you are the party primarily at fault in this marriage. If you cannot provide new evidence, this court will grant the divorce and rule you as the at-fault party." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Victoria and Ethan hugged each other tightly in excitement. Everyone was shouting that I got what I deserved. They were already celebrating their victory. Unflustered, I signaled to the judge. "I have new evidence. Security camera footage from the neighbor Ethan Jones's house. And a DNA paternity test report for the fetus Victoria is currently carrying." In an instant, the courtroom fell dead silent. Everyone's expression turned grim. Victoria's face was a mask of horror. I knew the real show was about to begin. Chapter 5. When the hundreds of video clips from the security camera were presented to the judge, the crowd was taken aback, then began to mock. Did this guy really suffer brain damage? He's actually using someone else's home security footage as evidence. He's still struggling even when it's over. If it were me, I'd be too ashamed to show my face. The courtroom buzzed with dismissive chatter. But at that moment, only Victoria and Ethan understood the gravity of this evidence. Her face was a blotchy mess of red and white, like she'd swallowed something foul. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe I had managed to get the footage from his house. "Your Honor, I request to view the latest security footage." Victoria nearly jumped out of her seat, shouting, "No, you can't watch it." Her outburst confused everyone in the room, making them even more curious about what was on the video. "Sincere, where did you get these videos?" She was panicking, trembling with fear, as if the footage held some unspeakable secret. "I finally understand why you were so quiet before. You were waiting for this. Are you really going to make this public? Do you have no regard for our past relationship?" I almost laughed out loud at her question. Did she consider our past relationship when she was cheating on me? The judge ordered Victoria back to her seat with a sharp rap of the gavel. "Silence, this is evidence provided by the plaintiff and should be presented in court." Victoria could no longer keep up the pretense. In a pleading tone, she begged the judge, "Your Honor, I'm begging you, please don't play this video." She had been the one to insist on a public trial. I had warned her several times to reconsider, to cancel the hearing. Whether for the sake of her privacy or mine, I didn't want so many outsiders involved. But Victoria, convinced she would win, couldn't wait to show the world how she had cheated right under my nose and was about to leave me with nothing. Now, she was finally reaping what she had sown. It was too late to escape. The judge ordered the video to be played. On the screen, Victoria appeared, dressed in a sexy lace nightgown, nestled in the arms of a strange man. Their actions were intimate, completely uninhibited by the sleeping child nearby. "My husband is on another business trip. I can spend the next few days with you. You're pregnant now, you should be careful. Don't startle the baby. Your husband still doesn't know Nancy is my child, does he? He's so stupid. He hasn't found out after all these years. I never let him touch me, so of course he never found out. Now the child is practically living on his doorstep and he still has no clue, ha ha." The two were shameless, a perfect pair of adulterers. "This is disgusting. I can't believe they're this kind of people." What a pair of adulterers. Not only did they want to steal his money, but they also planned to make him leave with nothing. Shameless, the affair was with her own neighbor. This is mind-blowing. The courtroom erupted in discussion, the atmosphere explosive. Victoria's face was beet red. She never imagined I would have such evidence. She thought her plan was flawless, that I would never in a million years suspect the man she was cheating with was our next-door neighbor. She tried to explain, but in the end, she was speechless, because it was all true. Even her excuse about helping the neighbor with his child now seemed laughably pathetic. The audience in the gallery, realizing they had been deceived, turned on her with accusations and curses. Chapter 6, Lies, it's fake. It must be fake. What proof do you have that the person in the video is me? Technology is so advanced these days. Who knows if you didn't just forge this?" Victoria was still trying to argue, but I immediately presented a report verifying the video's authenticity. It confirmed the footage had not been altered or forged and was legally admissible. Victoria's defense lawyer tried a different tack. "If you weren't constantly on business trips, busy with work, why would your wife have cheated? Who wouldn't want to be with their own lawful husband? It was your lack of companionship that led to this." Victoria immediately started weeping, complaining about how my busy work schedule had left her feeling lonely and empty for years. The crowd seemed to be swayed by her tears, gradually beginning to accept this excuse. Come to think of it, it's not entirely her fault. If he had fulfilled his marital duties, maybe she wouldn't have cheated. Ultimately, this man pushed his wife to this point, and he even installed cameras to spy on her. That's terrifying public opinion swayed like grass in the wind. With just a few words, it was my fault again. Ethan also stood up to accuse me. "You've violated my privacy. I won't let you get away with this. And what kind of man shows a video like this in public to humiliate his own wife? You're not a man at all. Did you ever think about Vicky's feelings? No wonder she didn't want you to touch her. Looking at their disgusting faces, I didn't want to stay a second longer." The curses directed at me grew louder. Even my own parents scolded me for doing the wrong thing. How could you show these videos? How is she supposed to face the world after this? Exactly. As her husband, you showed no consideration for her. The crowd was in an uproar, ready to tear me to pieces. In their eyes, I was an unforgivable monster. But when I presented the DNA paternity tests for both Nancy and the fetus Victoria was carrying, the entire courtroom was stunned. No one dared to pin the label of immorality on me again. They all froze, never imagining such a dramatic turn of events. The man they had all been condemning was the real victim, and Victoria was the real cheater. Because what Victoria had done to me was utterly unforgivable. For so many years I had longed for a child of my own, yet she had two with another man. No man could ever accept this. Victoria looked at me in shock. She never thought I knew about all of this. "Honey, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Can you please forgive me?" The spectators in the gallery could not forgive her. They finally understood the immense pain I had been enduring. Faced with such a wife, I could never forgive her. Divorce was the only option. My parents finally understood my suffering, and tears of regret streamed down their faces. They deeply regretted their harsh words, their accusations, and even their threat to disown me. "Son, Mom and Dad were wrong. We didn't know you were going through so much pain. Victoria, you shameless woman, to do something like this right under our noses. It's disgusting, and after our son treated you so well, spent so much money on you, you were so ungrateful you even schemed to make him leave with nothing at this point." Victoria was sobbing uncontrollably. Her plan had been to teach me a lesson, to humiliate me and ruin my reputation. She would not only get a divorce but also leave me penniless and be with Ethan forever, a perfect 2-for-1 deal. But she never expected that I was fully prepared, just waiting to watch her reap what she had sown. Chapter 7. After reviewing all the evidence, the judge understood everything. "This court hereby grants the divorce. The defendant is the at-fault party." With the fall of the judge's gavel, Victoria, as the at-fault party, was ordered to leave the marriage with nothing. Victoria couldn't accept it. She never imagined it would turn out this way. She nearly fainted, collapsing pale-faced onto her chair, tears streaming down her face. "How could this happen? How did you know everything all along? You must have spied on my phone, otherwise there's no way you could have known I ignored her and started to leave with my assistant, but she blocked my way. Honey, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. But you have to believe that I love you. I just wasn't in my right mind. I made a terrible mistake. Please forgive me, okay? Don't you want a child? I can have one for you, can't I?" Victoria wept bitterly, grabbing my hand and kneeling before me, endlessly repenting. I was as cold and unmoving as a block of wood, not even glancing at her. Seeing this, my parents rushed over and kicked her hard. "You wretch, how dare you still approach our son? You have no shame. Not only did you cheat, but you got pregnant with that adulterer's children twice." If our son hadn't found out, you would have deceived him for his entire life, wouldn't you? And I treated you like my own daughter. I never thought you were this kind of person, knowing she had lost everything." Victoria clung to me, refusing to let go. "Honey, I won't let go. I'll die before I let go. I know you still have feelings for me. I promise, if you agree to remarry me, I will never contact that man again." I kicked her away. No matter how much she cried and screamed, I didn't look back. This woman had left me utterly heartbroken and disappointed. There was no possibility of me ever going back. Seeing that I was completely unmoved, Victoria flew into a rage. "Sincere Smith, don't be so arrogant, since you won't budge even when I beg. Don't expect me to ever come back. I'd rather have Ethan's children than let you touch me. You disgust me. Get lost. The farther the better, and never come back." Her words were like needles stabbing deep into my heart, the pain suffocating. How could so many years of feelings just disappear? I remembered our entire past, from childhood sweethearts to the wedding altar. I still remembered our vows to grow old together. From the innocence of young love to the maturity of building a home, I had focused on my work to give her a better life. Perhaps I did neglect her, but none of that was an excuse for her to cheat. A broken mirror cannot be made whole again, and a shattered relationship cannot be mended. For a long time after the divorce was finalized, I didn't see Victoria again. I assumed she and Ethan were living happily ever after, finally together as they had wished, so I didn't ask about her. The past was in the past. I accepted a date my parents arranged for me and met Summer Holloway, a junior from my younger days whom I hadn't seen in years. With our parents' encouragement, I decided to get to know her better. I had her join my team at the company to gain some experience. I no longer wanted to stay in this city and decided to travel to a new city in 2 days to investigate a project. But on the day I was supposed to leave, I received a call from Victoria's phone. Chapter 8. It was a doctor on the other end of the line telling me that Victoria had suffered a miscarriage. They couldn't reach any of her family members, so they had to call me to come and cover her medical bills. Seeing her crying in such a wretched state, I felt not a shred of pity. I turned and walked away. She took out her phone to call Ethan, but the call wouldn't go through. She sobbed hysterically, her heart-wrenching cries echoing through the hospital room, filled with misery and desolation. I didn't ask where she had been these past days. It was no longer any of my business. The internet was flooded with accusations and insults against her. Victoria was facing unprecedented cyberbullying. Shameless serves her right, cheating on her husband. That kind of woman is toxic. A woman with such a venomous heart should just die. Her husband was so good to her, and she was still thinking about having an affair. On my way home, I received 2 pieces of news at once. Victoria had gone into shock, and her mother, Helen, had suffered a sudden heart attack. Helen Turner had poor health and had been recuperating in the countryside for years, making her difficult to contact. When I got home, Summer had already made soup and was waiting for me. Just as I sat down to eat, I received a call from Helen. "Sincere, please come see me. I'm not going to make it. I just want to see you one last time." Her breath was faint, her voice so weak it sounded as if she didn't have long to live. I put down my bowl and chopsticks. After a fierce internal struggle, I went to the hospital. Although Victoria had betrayed me and treated me poorly, her mother had treated me like her own son since before we were married. She was also the one who had ultimately pushed for Victoria and me to get married. By the time I arrived at the hospital, Helen was already in a state of shock. The doctors had issued several critical condition notices. She needed an expensive medication that required a family member's signature and immediate payment, or her life would be in danger. I wanted to sign and save her, but I was already divorced from Victoria. Helen and I were no longer related in any way. I wanted to help, but I couldn't. Victoria had been rushed to the emergency room due to her miscarriage, and couldn't come out to save her mother. After her father passed away, it had just been Victoria and her mother, with no other relatives. After being mobbed by the media, not only had she gone into shock, but she had also suffered a severe head injury from a fall. After her miscarriage surgery, she needed brain surgery as well. I stood outside the door, quietly watching it all unfold. She had brought all of this upon herself. By the time Victoria's surgery was over, her mother had been pronounced dead because no family member had signed for her treatment. When Victoria was brought to the hospital, she was already hemorrhaging badly. The baby couldn't be saved. On top of that, because she had missed the optimal window for treatment, her uterus had to be removed. When she woke up, she broke down completely, her eyes red from crying as she stared at the medical report. And when the doctor told her that her mother had also died because the rescue efforts had failed, she froze. Victoria shrieked at me, "Sincere, you bastard, why did you watch her die and do nothing?" I sneered. "I watched her die. Don't forget, you were the one who wanted the divorce. We're divorced. What right did I have to sign the papers and pay to save your mother? Don't blame me. The person who really killed your mother was you." Victoria stood blankly, her eyes brimming with tears, and she wept her heart out. I wondered if in that moment she regretted divorcing me. If we hadn't divorced, her mother wouldn't have died, and she wouldn't have lost her uterus. As I was about to leave, Victoria stopped me, her voice trembling as she asked, "Wait, where's Ethan? Did he come to see me?" I shook my head coldly and turned to leave, but she refused to believe it. No, that's not true. He must have come to see me. I love him so much, how could he not come to see me? You must be lying to me." Victoria was beyond help. She had brought her current situation entirely upon herself. Ethan had ruined her life so completely, yet even now, she was still thinking about him. It was truly self-inflicted. Instead of grieving for her deceased mother, she was worried about whether an outsider had come to visit her. If I were her mother and had a daughter like that, I probably wouldn't be able to rest in peace. As I left the room, I found that Ethan had actually sent me a message. Chapter 9. "If you want to see me, fine, but first you have to go see Victoria and make everything clear to her." I agreed to Ethan's request to meet, but I also learned that he had no intention of marrying Victoria. Ethan was already married with a family. I was just curious to see how Victoria would react when she found out. I called Ethan to her hospital room. Victoria was thrilled to see him. She wiped away her tears and ran from the bed to his side, holding his hand affectionately. "Ethan, you came to see me. I knew you would. I know you must still love me. We can get married, and I'll definitely." It was then I realized things weren't so simple. Since Victoria had left our marriage with nothing, she was penniless, and Ethan had already started to despise her. To maintain the relationship, Victoria had resorted to taking odd jobs everywhere. But she had no idea that Ethan was already married, and that to him Nancy was just a burden. Ethan ruthlessly shook off her hand and pushed her away. "Let go, I can't marry you because I'm already married." He flashed his wedding ring and marriage certificate. Victoria's eyes filled with disbelief. "See this? I'm married. I was lying to you before. I don't love you at all. I was only with you for the money. Now that you're broke, who would love you?" His voice was low, devoid of any affection for her, only impatience. The reason Ethan had contacted me was that the scandal had gotten too big. It not only threatened his wife, who lived abroad, but could also end his acting career. He had only intended to have some fun, but now he couldn't get away. He had long since grown to hate Victoria. Victoria froze, tears streaming down her face. "You're lying. You must be lying to me. You said you would marry me. I divorced for you, got pregnant for you, and ended up like this for you. How can you just leave me like this? I know it's my fault. Can't you just forgive me?" She knelt before Ethan, crying her heart out. "I was wrong. I was really wrong. Don't go, don't leave me." Ethan, who had been relatively calm, suddenly changed his demeanor and kicked Victoria to the ground. "You're disgusting. Stop pestering me and get lost. You're the one who dragged me into this mess. I just wanted to have some fun, and now you've ruined me." Ethan turned and left without a shred of lingering affection. Victoria was utterly devastated. She finally understood that Ethan had never loved her. She thought he loved her, but in reality, she was just his plaything. From the day he returned to the country, he had treated her as nothing more than a toy. He played with her when he felt like it, and tossed her aside when he got bored, without a second thought. Victoria cried until she had no tears left. She had now lost everything. As an actor, Ethan's relationship history was far more extensive and chaotic than she had ever imagined. But Victoria had foolishly believed she had found true love, only to end up in this state. After being discharged from the hospital, Victoria tried to call me to pick her up, but she couldn't get through. Because I had already changed my phone number, she had no way of contacting me. Unwilling to give up, she tried to find a respectable job, but the public trial had caused such a scandal that everyone shunned her. Chapter 10. Victoria screamed in despair, unable to believe what her life had become. She searched everywhere for work, only to find that no one would even hire her for the assistant positions she once looked down upon. Due to the horrific reputation from her past actions, nobody wanted her. By the time she realized it, it was too late. She had already lost everything. Victoria cried until she could barely breathe. She was now truly left with nothing. She had no job and had to struggle to raise 2 children. I felt nothing about this. It was all her own doing. Physically scarred and deep in debt, her mental state deteriorated. Meanwhile, my company's reputation grew, and our new project attracted a massive investment. When Victoria realized how well I was doing, she dragged her weary body to find me again. Her face was pale, her body hunched over. She looked old and pitiful. She grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Honey, I was wrong. Can you please not leave me? I was ignorant before. I didn't know how to cherish you. It's all my fault I can't live without you." Seeing her sobbing uncontrollably, I suddenly thought of my former self. In the past, no matter what mistakes Victoria made, as long as she acted cute and begged for my forgiveness, I would forgive her unconditionally. After all, I had once loved her so much. Even when she made terrible mistakes, I never gave up on her. But now, I no longer loved her. I was completely and utterly disappointed in her. I had seen her true colors, and there was no way I could ever choose to love her again. She was always blind to the good I did for her, single-mindedly focused on being with her childhood sweetheart. She trampled all over my dignity and love, humiliating me without mercy. I had given up on her long ago. There was no possibility of us getting back together. Let go. I stopped loving you a long time ago. Belated affection is cheaper than dirt. I can't be soft-hearted with you again. Besides, I'm about to get engaged. Stop pestering me. Victoria froze on the spot. She saw my girlfriend, Summer Holloway. We were very much in love, and she was already pregnant with my child. After meeting her, I realized I could love someone else again, and I no longer had any feelings for Victoria. Victoria couldn't believe I had fallen in love with someone else so quickly. Her eyes filled with tears of regret, and she cried uncontrollably. A broken mirror cannot be made whole again, and a shattered relationship cannot be repaired. You're lying. I don't believe you could fall in love with someone else so fast. Have you forgotten all our years together? But my heart felt not the slightest ripple, as if the person before me was a complete stranger. I had to admit our past was sweet, but it was just that, the past. You were able to fall in love with Ethan quickly enough. Why can't I do the same? Stop harassing me. We can't go back to how things were. Face reality. One must always look forward. A rotten relationship isn't worth looking back on. Victoria refused to accept it. I called security to have her removed. Her life after that was very difficult. Eventually, I heard no more news of her. A year later, Summer and I got married and started a new family. I had my own child now, and the 3 of us lived a very happy life. The end.